Tonight on Let It Rip.
It was so scary, and that man was shooting. I mean, he was shooting hard.
Los babies lloraban, y cuando lloraban los babies,
everybody died.
Another week, another mass shooting in America. This time, a deranged gunman targets worshippers at a Texas church, slaughtering everyone he could, including children. And just days later, some Lansing lawmakers respond by saying that more guns are the answer, not gun control.
Putting guns that close to minors doesn't make any sense, and mistakes can happen.
People need armed protection more now than any time in our history.
Time to let it rip. On the panel tonight, the Macomb County Republican who loves God, guns, and Donald Trump, and not necessarily in that order. State Rep Pete Lucido is back. Next to him, the Democrat from Detroit who's trying to get us to put down our guns and start talking about ways to protect each other without killing each other. State Rep Sherry Danielgo is ready to rip. And so is the woman who is a card-carrying member of the National Rifle Association. She's also a skilled instructor in gun safety and marksmanship. Tanisha Mona is here. Plus, our resident psychiatrist, Dr. Gerald Shiner, making a house call to help us understand America's obsession with guns and violence and how the mentally ill can be kept away from weapons of mass murder. And as always, anchor reporter, attorney Charlie Langton. Pete, let's begin with you. The state Senate this week, just days after that massacre in Texas, approving a package of bills that would allow concealed carry in places like schools, churches, arenas, and stadiums. How do you intend to vote?
Well, I haven't seen the bill yet, so that's probably not going to be a good thing to be asked how we're supposed to vote when we haven't looked at it.
But you know what's in it.
I understand the nature of the bill, and I understand that there's mass murder empowerment zones, and I want to call that gun-free, and I'll explain why. Somebody who goes ahead and goes into an area where they know it's gun-free, or as Lucido says, mass murder empowerment zone, they know that those people are vulnerable. As a result, they're going to go in there to kill. And you can't stop people, and the doctor will say, from doing what they do, and that's their mental health.
And you can't stop them with guns either.
And as a result of a mass murder empowerment zone, if people were armed in those zones, they'd have at least the opportunity to defend themselves.
That's a childish fantasy.
And that's exactly what people need to do.
That's a childish fantasy.
Themselves. Because in a gun-free zone, without having the ability to defend yourself, you're left at prey like those poor people in Texas.
So you're saying that the answer to gun violence is more guns?
Absolutely, you bring the guns there, because if you don't bring the guns there, those individuals would have to pause, knowing that there's guns there, who know it's a gun-free zone, and they'll pause, take a step back, and think, I'm going to get shot if I go in there with my gun.
Well, look, in Texas, we also saw an example of perhaps what you're talking about. The man who helped stop the massacre in Texas was just a good man with a gun. Stephen Williford lived just a block away. He heard the gunshots and ran barefoot with his AR-15 to confront the killer.
Every time I heard a shot, I knew that that probably represented a life. I'm no hero. I am not. I think my God, my Lord, protected me and gave me the skills to do what needed to be done. And I just wish I could have gotten there faster.
He doesn't think he's a hero, but he is a hero. Williford not only shot Devin Kelly twice, he flagged down a stranger in a truck, Johnny Langendorf, and together they chased Kelly until Kelly ran off the road and eventually took his own life. Now, Williford is a former NRA instructor who knew what to do and how to do it. Now, Sherry, you spent time in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And if you were attacked by a madman like that, wouldn't you want a Steve Williford there with a gun to protect you?
Steve Williford, when you point out that he had extensive instruction, someone who has had hours of preparation with carrying and utilizing a gun. This law will not ensure that we have people who are skilled. We're looking at creating an environment where we'll have vigilantes pulling out guns and weapons and making the environment more dangerous. So no, I wouldn't want to do that. But you know what I find disingenuous? What I find is we have a problem with mental health. That's what my colleague here opened up with. But do you see after shootings like this, the budget or discussion open up to invest more in mental health? No. It's to now uplift the NRA's agenda to empower or provide people with more weapons and hence more violence. That's what that will be. And think about the insurance that schools will have to have, ISDs, churches, community college would have to have in order to have someone coming in without skills in their schools. I would imagine the lawsuits would be all over the place after we've lost lives by people who are well-intended but were not skilled enough to utilize a gun.
Well, talking about skills, Tanisha is someone I know well. She was one of the 3 instructors who helped me to get my concealed pistol license, along with Rick Ector and Terry Johnson. And I learned a lot from that instruction, that day-long instruction. But I also learned this, Tanisha, everybody should not have a gun. And you didn't even come to your place as an instructor without some experience that brought you to the place where you didn't grow up loving guns.
Well, no, I didn't grow up, just being honest, no, I did not grow up loving guns. Even today, it isn't so much, oh, I love the gun. What it is I love my life enough to defend it. That is what I absolutely love. If people didn't have guns, if guns had never been invented and everybody was fighting with bats and knives, then I would fight with a bat or a knife. However, the bad guy out here, he's got a gun. I've had guns pulled on me before. When I was 17 years old, I was, in essence, kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and the whole shebang by someone who had a gun. I mean, when you don't have a gun, what do, right? This person's got one, you don't. So what am I supposed to do at that point? Wait, call the police, wait on, what is his name, Mr. Williford to show up, or call my boyfriend to come bring his gun? I mean, like, really, what are you supposed to do? I think every person who's a rightful law-abiding citizen should have the opportunity and the ability to defend themselves.
But now this state Senate bill would allow you to take your gun almost everywhere, concealed in a church, a school, and even a bar. Do you think it would be a good idea to take your concealed weapon to a bar?
I'm going to be very honest with you. While we're so worried about, oh, people are going to bring guns in churches and in bars, first and foremost, they're already there.
And second of all, I want to chime in. There's a CPL that they have to go into those zones, so the training, as my colleague here in the House says, they'll be trained and even heightened. There's another additional 8 hours that go along with it. So you've already gone through the initial training. You know how expensive those 8 hours are, let's be honest. And then you're going to have an additional 8 hours of additional training. It's not like you're putting guns into people's hands that don't understand the rules of guns. And one more thing, all of these shootings that you see universally throughout the United States have been non-CPL holders. Exactly. Can anyone on this committee here tell us today what CPL individual you can say is the one that abused the rights of the gun?
And in every one of those shooting incidents, CPL carrier or not CPL carrier, there are only 4 documented. This is the 5th documented case of a good guy with a gun intervening. And he intervened when this guy was fleeing after he'd done his damage. The other 4 cases were off-duty police officers or off-duty military. No, not time out. Let me finish.
That is
let me finish.
Good guys with guns aren't allowed to carry firearms in those places that you're
They were good guys with a gun. They were law enforcement or military, and they caught the shooter fleeing. There hasn't been any other instance. Now, most of these guys want to get killed, so they're not worried about whether it's gun zone or not gun zone, because their end game is to let the police kill them or to kill themselves, and most of them do. We have more guns than any other country. We have more guns per capita than any other country, and we have a magnitude. We have more than 10 times the shootings as our next rival, and we have close to 100 times the number of shootings in Japan, where to get a firearm you have to take a course, you have to prove that you need it, you have to take a medical exam, a psychiatric exam, you have to keep your gun in a certain room.
Thank God for the Second Amendment. That's a bit much.
Well, they don't have shootings and they don't have firearm incidents.
Well, you know what? When Charlie goes to court, he is not allowed to carry a gun inside the courtroom.
There are certain places I don't think guns should ever be. One of them would be bars. I can't imagine any bill anywhere that would allow guns and alcohol in the same way.
You can't carry a gun when you're drinking.
Open carry a firearm. Here's the thing: when that law changes,
you can't carry a gun when you're drinking.
But here's the issue.
Just because the law changes does not remove the responsibility for you to not be under the influence to the point of being
going to arrest you? Who's
the
going to arrest
same
you?
police that arrest anybody else for any
Let me bring Charlie.
I think for the problem here is that we are in a society now where we don't feel safe very often. I mean, now look at all these things. We have a right to protect ourselves. I think that there's a place for guns. I don't think they're everywhere, and I think we've got to go out there. If you are, it's going to be a troubling situation if we are allowed to have guns in bars. The bill that was just passed in the Senate, listen, if you're an instructor, if you know what you're doing, if you're an ex-cop, something like that,
absolutely,
let them have the guns for protection. And if you want to be a private citizen with a gun, like you took the course, if you want to defend yourself, you should be allowed to do it. Conceal it, that's fine. And one other thing. If I'm going to go in there and try to commit some mass destruction, I am going to think twice if I'm going to go into a formally gun-free zone with the possibility that those people may have guns and I'll get killed.
Why
but you're not the one who's going to do it, Charlie. You're thinking
because they know the outcome of if they go into a police station.
Do you believe individuals have a right to protect themselves in this society? Yes or no?
Absolutely, but not inside of a school, not inside of a church, where there are massive amounts of
We cannot talk at the same time, but we'll give everybody a chance to chime in.
All right? There's no level of mastery with 8 hours of instruction. You cannot master
I don't know anybody
Stay
who
with
goes
us.
and gets a CPO.
Thank you. Much more to come. Stay with us. We're just getting started on Let It Rip.
This isn't a guns situation. This is a mental health problem at the highest level. It's a very, very sad event.
The president says this is not a gun problem, it's a mental health problem. He was in Japan when he spoke about gun control, which he said would not have stopped Devin Kelley, the Texas church shooter. Welcome back to Let It Rip with State Reps Pete Lucido, Sherry Gay Dagnyogo, and Instructor Tanisha Mona, Psychiatrist Phil Shiner, Attorney Charlie Langton. All right, we're all here. Let's start with you.
Schools are no place for guns for anyone to have guns. I could see if you have skilled police officers, retired police officers, military who are skilled, hours of instruction in having a weapon. But to open up an allowance for someone who has not had a level of mastery, to really learn and comprehend and be well skilled in using it, you need more than 8 hours, more than 16 hours. I am a CPL licensed gun carrier. So I've had 8 hours. Does that make me an expert?
Well, it's okay for you, but not someone else.
It's not okay. I never took my gun in the classroom. Okay. I have never taken my gun to the house floor. So there are certain places.
Your choice.
That's my choice.
Your choice.
But now the children's safety is my highest priority. And so having 30 kids in a classroom, having anybody come into the
school
if
someone like
with
Dylan
a weapon,
came into your classroom with your 30 students,
he's not
if
your
someone
typical
like
individual
that came into a classroom with your 30 students, how do you protect those 30
He's skilled. With my 8 hours,
then get
8 hours is not preparing me to deal with someone who is skilled.
But call me, I'll help you.
Another layer of area where we would have to require teachers. So we're not providing adequate professional development for schools. But now we're going to have teachers go and take CPL lessons now.
I didn't say a teacher.
So where's the money coming from?
Increase security.
That's my question. You're saying retired police officers. You're saying police officers, retired police officers, military. I understand what you said. What I'm saying is, I don't know of a school district that's not crying about money. Can you name one that's going to go and hire all these people?
Absolutely not. So then, therefore, the schools, the guns don't belong in schools.
You have one resource officer. Some of these schools
music belongs in schools. Instruction belongs in schools. Not guns.
All right, that's right. 1,500 children, so you'd rather have 1,500 dead children.
No, I'd rather we have an investment in mental health in the state of
Texas. All right, got dead children.
Let me hear from the doctor again, because there's some question about our inability to stop the mentally ill from getting hold of weapons of mass murder.
Hey, it's against federal law for someone who's been adjudicated insane in a court of law.
And this guy was not
to own. He was ill. He escaped from a psychiatric hospital. The military did not notify the authorities so he could pass a background check. But in some states, all you got to do, you can be underage, you can be adjudicated insane, you can go to a gun show with cash, and you can walk away with an assault rifle, a bump stock, whatever you want. 1,500 rounds of ammunition. That's wrong. That shouldn't happen.
You said in some states, but we're talking about in Michigan. In Michigan, you cannot purchase a firearm if you're not 21
But you can buy them. You can go to another state and bring it back to Michigan. Illinois has the toughest gun laws in the union.
If you've got a 16-year-old going to another state and you don't know about it, then I question your parents.
People can beat the system. It's easy to beat the system. Maybe they slip through the cracks.
But make it hard. Make it harder.
I think the issue is, what about the innocent people for protection? I think the focus has to be two focuses. Number one, to take care of the mental illness that's out there so we prevent those people from getting guns. That's one. And the other thing is protecting our innocent selves from people that do go into these places with guns. Those are the two issues I see.
But first of all, our mentally ill are no sicker than they are in Canada and other countries. We have less than 1/10 the violence that they have in those countries. They have 1/10.
Maybe our budget for treatment.
Maybe we have to confront this reality. This is just who we are in America. Right. We were born in violence, we were born in racism, and we kill each other in numbers that the civilized world has never seen before. And we call this America. Are you saying that these dead people are simply the price of our freedom to own guns?
No,
is that what we're saying?
It's a symptom of our sickness. It's a symptom of our sickness. Let me just say this. Me and my colleagues, 3 of us today, dropped bills to increase voting participation. I had bills to have automatic voter registration when you get your driver's license or personal ID. Ask my colleague here how many members on his side of the aisle signed those, but will vote to have guns in churches and in schools and everywhere else. So our priorities are in the wrong place. We won't invest in mental health. We won't make sure that all schools have access to quality education, music, and the arts, but we now want to put guns in schools. We're back. This is backwards.
First of all, why don't we talk about the bill, okay? You can talk about all this other sideshow, but the real deal is the bill. The bill itself allowed to close a loophole that was there regarding concealed. And as a result, people that were open carrying, people were afraid to see this in those areas. They were offended. So as such, they closed the loophole and said, those that have a CPL that are going to gun-free zones, why is it that they can't conceal that weapon for their own personal protection? We have a Second Amendment. We're always going to have a Second Amendment. It is undisputed that the people with CPLs have not caused these crimes, if you will. These are people that need to protect themselves.
They have stopped these crimes.
Doctor, I did not stop you.
They have.
As a result,
yes, you did. You stopped
me. As a result, today we have more people that need to be protected and to have protection. And if you want to make it a circus about the whole thing, then you forgot about your constitutional rights. Don't live in this country. Don't live here. Live somewhere else. I have a right to carry a gun. I have a right to protect myself, and I have a right to go ahead and conceal it with the law that's coming down.
And carrying a gun hasn't protected anyone from a mass shooting. You can call me doctor, but carrying a gun has not protected one person from a mass shooting.
Because mass shootings happen in places where people cannot take firearms.
So would you want your kids or grandkids going to
if you go to the mall, if you go to Oakland, no firearms allowed.
Let me hear from Tanisha. Go ahead.
No firearms are allowed in any of these places. You said malls.
I shouldn't be right.
Every firearm you go in says, every mall you go in says no firearms allowed.
It's private property.
But they're there anyway. They're there anyway.
School boards can exclude.
Say no firearms unless you have permission.
When my colleagues read the bill, school boards can exclude who, as far as teachers, who, as far as, but if I'm a parent dropping my child off at school, I can bring a firearm there. And Huel, as far as school boards and universities, they have the right to exclude the students, as well as the faculty, as well as individuals from entering that property. Private property owners. So there's a whole host of carve-outs, if you will, to say they can exclude it. These are things that these individuals ought to read. When the bill comes down and we fully exhaust...
Hold on, Pete. You just said you didn't read the bill.
Hold on.
Now you said that about 20 minutes ago.
I did.
Read the bill. Read the bill.
She got you. Detroit News article. I read the Detroit News article, and it said these things in it. The bill has not been brought over.
He got the gist of it.
And I read your name.
Everybody understands all the bill. All right. Then we can come back and do it again.
Excuse me. The one lone Republican in the Senate, Marty Nolenberg, who voted no, said that he voted no because he thought that schools, certain organizations, deserved a carve-out. They deserve the right, the option to say, no, I'm not going to allow guns in my place of worship, in my school, my business. Now, shouldn't the rights of property owners and privacy trump the Second Amendment? If I don't want you to bring a gun in my place of business, can't I say that?
They
All right,
do.
we shouldn't
have no guns.
We should have them here.
No guns. You can't bring a gun in here. You gotta go to a metal detector at the door.
But then shouldn't
the security guy
a church as well?
The security guy has his
Shouldn't the pastor as well be able to say, what would Jesus do? Would he have an AR-47?
But the pastor...
Would Jesus buy an AR-47? Is that what you're saying?
Churches do have an exclusion.
Security team.
You got to call the parish. You got to call the parish and ask him if there's an exclusion.
Exactly.
Well, look,
what about the bill?
Much more to come. All right, stay right where you are and stay with us. You've heard from the panel. Now it's your turn when Charlie takes the show on the road. Locked and loaded. Stay with us.
Michigan Senate passed a bill that would allow people to take guns if they have extra training into a school, church, that type of thing. Good idea?
No.
The Second Amendment, you know, this world's going crazy.
I'm just thinking that more lives could be saved with the guns.
Do you think that if people in that church in Texas had guns, maybe less people would have died?
Oh, for sure.
You know, I know the streets. So why can't we just have it no guns?
They're saying before you acquire a gun, they should have something like a psychology test, you know, in order to know what's going inside of their brain.
What if one got loose or something happened and the child found it?
Maybe a kid could get a hold of the gun.
Kids have always gotten hold of guns, even when they were supposed to be secured.
London, they don't have guns. They have billy clubs and the what you call it? Yeah, it's mace.
Yeah, right here, boom. You'd rather call 911, be here in 30 seconds. It's right here on your holster.
Why can't we just have it no guns? It'd be a safe place.
We have time for closing statements. Tanisha, beginning with you.
All right, really quick. I'll simply say that no law has ever been passed based on what someone's opinion or feelings are. Laws are passed. If anybody ever took like a 5th grade civics class, laws are passed because bills are drawn. If you don't like what's out there, draw up your own bill. If it becomes a law, I'm a law-abiding citizen, I will support it.
Sure.
As a master level teacher, I understand cognition, how people learn, how people master concepts. 16 hours is not enough time for anyone to become a master in using a weapon, and so weapons do not belong in school. Arts belong in school. Music belong in school. Great teachers and instruction belong in school, and we need greater mental health investment, not guns in the state of Michigan.
People need to empower themselves with protection today, more than ever. On top of it, law-abiding citizens have a constitutional right. If I've taken the proper course in training and instruction, I'm not a felon. I have a right to buy a gun. I have a right to carry a gun. And I have a right to protect myself against those that are bad doers. We should continue that line of dialogue and make it law.
Dr. Johnny.
I don't mind you carrying a gun in a gun-free zone. Or
so I'm okay.
Well, because you're trained.
Gotcha.
But I don't think anyone should be allowed to do it just because they meet a certain minimum requirement. I think we need to be more discriminating, and I think we need more scrutiny. We need to make it a little harder, not easier. And I think that guns in those gun-free zones, churches, bars, and schools, just heighten the danger and heighten the damage that can occur, because we're dealing with mostly amateurs, not people trained at your level and not people trained at your level.
I take the doctor to a challenge and have him provide an amendment for my colleague and I to offer to the House.
Guns are just trouble. The guns are so much trouble, but the problem is we have to protect ourselves. I think there's a right to do it. I don't like guns in bars. Alcohol and guns absolutely do not mix, but we need to have some protection, and I think it's the way of the world. I hate guns. I don't have one, but I do support the people's right to have a gun, assuming they know how to use it.
The way of the country, not the world.
I'm a good shot. I have a CPL, but I don't think everybody should have a gun the same way I do, even if it is your right. If you have mental challenges, if you have other challenges, you need to see the doctor first. A psychiatrist needs to sit on the board and certify that you are mentally well before you can buy or use that weapon. That's what I believe.
At the very least.
Doctors
no
aren't
question.
mentally well.
All right. Thank you.
Tanisha's going to help me sharpen up my skills.
Let's do it. Thank you for watching.
I'm going to get her together.
That's it for this edition of Let It Rip.
I got you.
The Let It Rip discussion continues online. Sound off on Facebook, Twitter, or fox2detroit.com.